Think about your favorite memory involving a horse. Even if you're not a rider, you likely have at least one thought that your mind returns to. Few animals can evoke the nostalgia of childhood mixed with the sleekness and grace that a horse can bring. It's an animal that demands your time and respect, but in turn is biologically wired to follow your lead. But no matter the bond between horse and rider, accidents and injuries can happen. In our feature story today, you'll meet a woman who, despite years of riding, was reminded of that lesson the hard way. Now she's sharing her story with the hope that others will learn from her mistakes and be inspired to saddle up safely and with confidence.
I think people are actually born with the love of horses. There's so much you can learn from them and develop skills of your own, both physically, emotionally, and spiritually through them.
It's a feeling like no other. The freedom, the power, the exhilaration that comes from two working together as one.
It's like learning to communicate with someone that's a lot like yourself. There's a unique bond that you develop with the horse because of their massive size.
Mary Shannon is a riding instructor whose history with horses spans half a century. And this past February, she almost lost that unique bond forever.
So it is kind of ironic that I've been riding as much as I have, and I'm an advanced level path instructor, and a Welsh pony bucked me off and broke my back. Good boy, back.
What began as a quick outing with a rescue horse ended with a devastating injury and weeks of recovery.
It was almost like a psychotic episode, and he did a lunging leap where they jump up in the air and buck, and of course I wasn't prepared for that at all, and so I did come off of him and fell on my back, directly on my back, but I was in excruciating pain, and I knew I was hurt. They did surgery. It was the third, fourth, and fifth vertebra, and the fourth one was cracked, and the third and the fifth were displaced. And then I was in the hospital for 15 days, but I couldn't walk for a while. It was kind of scary. It's very humbling. And of course, we always know things can happen so quick and change your life. It gives you a different perspective on it.
Experts say it's not unusual for experienced riders to let their guard down when interacting with a familiar animal.
Those are things that are taken for granted, probably more from the quote experienced riders and horse handlers, because they get comfortable around horses and then take those things for granted.
For as bad as it was, Mary knows her injuries could have been much worse if not for a helmet.
I know without a doubt I would have had a head injury of some sort. There's no way to predict that, you know, what it would have been. But with the impact, you know, I was thrown 10 feet. Yeah, I mean, he threw me up in the air, and it was with a lot of force that he got me off. So I know that my head would have been, you know, injured with the way that I hit on my back.
In the United States, around 70,000 reported incidences to hospitals with horse-related incidences. It's not necessarily head injuries. Head injuries account for about 17% of that. That combined with the fact that if you consider what you're doing, you're sitting sometimes 8, 9 feet in the air when you're riding a horse. It's known that it only takes about 4 to 6 miles an hour and a fall from 2 feet to crush the skull. When you exacerbate that with a 9-foot elevation, an animal that can run 40 miles an hour, it's pretty easy to see that the need for safety is pretty important with horses.
Cavender stresses that a horse's first instinct isn't to bite or try to injure someone, but they may be nervous in unfamiliar situations. That's why understanding the animal's breeding, body language, and temperament is crucial to having a safe ride. If you choose to wear a helmet, studies say that decision could pay off if you're put in a dangerous situation.
Okay.
The United States Pony Club actually has data that they reduced the incidence of serious head-related injuries by about 50% just from requiring the use of wearing a helmet or use of helmets. Obviously, the helmet's going to do two things. It's going to prevent the sheer force or crushing force of a fall, and it's also going to cushion the energy or absorb the energy that's created from that fall.
For Mary, protecting her head has been a self-imposed requirement for years, dating back to her time as a therapeutic riding instructor.
I think it's just like, like I said, it's a seatbelt. It doesn't do a thing for you unless you need it, but when you need it, it's critical.
Besides helmets of different shapes and colors, there are countless precautions that beginning and experienced riders can check off the list before mounting up.
I would say first and foremost, without exception, is making sure your tack's in good working order. And knowing, too, would be knowing your limitation for sure. The limitation of you and the horse. Training horses is not something that happens in a 10-day process. This is a year, 2-year, 3-year, lifetime event.
I do think we all just become a little lackadaisical in our thinking about the horse. I mean, you just can't help to do that. When you ride for so long, it's just kind of like your camera. If you don't know that equipment, then you're setting yourself up for an accident as well.
Healed and back in the saddle, Mary is determined to make sure she's prepared for the activity she enjoys and the animal she loves.
It's learning about how to interact safely with the horse, and that goes from how you approach them, put a halter on, lead them, turn them out in the pasture, because, in my opinion, most accidents happen because, we're not observing safety things. Horses are not typically mean creatures. They're really not, and they've been, instrumental to the human for years and years with their loyalty and their dedication.
All right, so we do want to make it clear that the horse in that story is not the horse that was involved in Mary's accident. She tells me that horse was given to Mississippi State University to be used in a research project.
And Dr. Cavender gave you some more tips to watch for in a horse you're thinking about riding. He says that friendly horses have their ears forward and also have a calm, bright expression. And he says a horse that swishes or pins his tail may not be comfortable enough to let you ride.
Good tips. So safe riding, everybody. Be safe out there.